Welcome back to the VDC space. Welcome back. Please like, subscribe, and share. So today we're gonna be covering an interesting topic. We're gonna cover sustainable housing. We're gonna model a conceptual home for that supports sustainability in Revit today. So the four topics we're going to cover in terms of our conceptual design of our sustainable home is going to be obviously solar energy. The next one is water conservation and also green engineering or green building. And the last one is going to be sustainable materials. So we're just going to keep it as basic as we can. We're just gonna use some basic materials like concrete, and also we're gonna incorporate solar panels on our home, and also we're gonna apply roof gardening, and also we're gonna place some tanks for water conservation that transports rainwater or natural water and into our sustainable home. Before I get started, I would like to ask you guys to please like, subscribe, and share. If you are new, subscribe. If you already did, hit that notification button because I upload BIM modeling tutorials 3 times every week. I cover different topics. When you go to my playlist, you will see that I cover different topics. Now, without further ado, here we are in Revit. So we're just going to use the construction template, and we're just going to enlarge these views so that we can able to fit everything right on these borders. So we're just going to use two levels when it comes to our sustainable homes. So when you go to the south elevation, we have 2 levels, 1 and 2, and I'm just going to reduce this one and make it 3.5 instead of 4, and we're going to go to level 0. So I'm just going to go to structure, and then we're going to use the structural wall. And then as I drop down, I'm going to choose the wall, the retaining wall 300 millimeter thickness. And then I'm going to go to edit type and say duplicate. And then I'm going to rename this one 230 thick concrete wall. And then I'm going to say OK, and then I'm just going to say edit, and then I'm going to leave it as cast in situ, but obviously I'm going to change its thickness from 300 to 230 and say OK. And the next thing is I'm just going to say apply and then OK. Now, one thing you should do is you have to check your constraints when it comes to walls. So make sure it's set to height, and then the second level it's set to level 1. So I'm just going to and then I'm just going to place a rectangle. I'm just going to choose a rectangle and then place one like this. Obviously, I'm going to adjust the parameters. So I'm going to make the width 8,000 millimeters, and then the length, I'm going to change it to 15,000 millimeters. I think that is fine. And then I'm going to choose my wall again, and then I'm going to place another one at 3.5. Sorry about that. And I'm gonna make it 3.5, and then I'm gonna go down by, let's make it 5,000, and then I'm gonna place it like this. So if I open up the 3D view, this is basically how it looks. So I'm just gonna select this, right click and say maximize 3D extends, and then I'm gonna do the same thing for the other level. So the next thing is I'm gonna go back to my level 0. So on my level 0, obviously I'm gonna have to place my floor. So I'm just gonna go to slab, and I'm gonna select my rectangle, and then I'm just gonna place it like this. And I'm just gonna say align or AL on your keyboard, and then I'm gonna align it towards this point. And then the other one, I'm just gonna place it right there, and then this one I'm gonna place it right there, and then this one I'm gonna place it right like this. And then I'm just gonna go to edit type. So the thickness is 300. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Actually, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that. And then I'm gonna say finish, and then go to the 3D view. So this is basically how it looks. Now the next thing is I'm just gonna go back to my level 0 again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna place my families. So I'm just gonna start with my doors. So these are the families that are already loaded in. So I'm gonna link in the description in order for you guys to download them. So I'm just gonna place the sliding door like this, and then I'm gonna go to my windows. So obviously for my windows, let me just go with this one and then place it right there. And then I'm gonna choose this one and then place it right there. And then the smallest one, I'm gonna place it right there also. And then let's go with this one. This one I'll place it right like this. Go to the 3D view, and this is basically how everything looks so far. So I'm gonna go back to level 0, and then let's go with so in terms of the interior of our home, we are not gonna do that. We're not gonna do anything. It's just a concept. So I'm gonna go back to. Let me just open up level 1. So in order for us to model our roof, I'm gonna go to structure, and then I'm going under structure. I'm gonna open up floors, edit type, and then I'm gonna duplicate, and then I'm gonna rename this one 200 thick concrete slab, or I'm just gonna name it floor instead, and then I'm gonna say okay, edit type, and then I'm just gonna remove these layers, and then I'm only gonna be left with one layer. So I'm just gonna change its thickness to 200, and then I'm gonna say okay, and then apply, and then okay, and then I'm just gonna pick my lines. So I'm gonna pick the exterior of our walls, and then I'm just gonna place everything like this, adjust everything, trim and extend, and then I'm gonna say finish edit mode. Make sure your walls are attached towards the bottom of your floor or slab, and then I'm just gonna remove the span direction annotation, and when I open up the 3D view, this is basically how it looks. So what I'm gonna do is go back to the level 0. I'm gonna remove this window because we're gonna have the stairs there. So I'm just gonna go back to architecture, pick maybe this one of the smallest windows, and then place it right on the side like this. Open up the 3D view, and this is how it looks. I think that's fine. So I'm gonna go back to level 1. Level 0. So on my level 0, I'm gonna press VR for view range, and then for the bottom, I'm gonna set it to minus 1000 millimeters, the view depth minus 1000 millimeters, and then apply, and then okay. Let me just remove this span direction annotation. Now I have this floor, I have a great reference. Now I can place my stairs towards the top. So under circulation, you're gonna place your stairs, and then I'm just gonna place my stair like this. So obviously I'm gonna have to select it and then adjust it. So I'm gonna adjust it like manually like so. Let me just place it right on this corner, and then I'm just gonna drag it towards this point. If I open up the 3D view, you gain much better perspective when it comes to your stairs. So I'm gonna select it. Actually, under my properties, I'm gonna drop down, and obviously we're gonna go with the cast in situ stair, and then I'm gonna say finish edit mode, and obviously I'm gonna select it, and then under my dimensions, the desired number, I'm gonna reduce it. When you reduce it, the height of your stairs is it's gonna increase in terms of the height. So I'm gonna reduce my desired numbers until it's gonna be set properly towards the top of my home. So I'm gonna say okay, and then it's gonna be placed like this. So obviously if I go back to level 0, I'm just gonna select it, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna push it right back by 500 mils, and then increase it. Let me just say undo. So I'm gonna increase it like this, and then say finish edit mode, go to the 3D view, and then I'm gonna select my stairs, and then I'm gonna increase my desired number so that it's gonna be aligned perfectly when it comes to the top of my home. So I think this is perfect. So the next thing is I'm gonna go back to level 1. So on my level 1, I'm gonna place my parapets, and for my parapets, I'm gonna go back to structure and say wall, and then I'm gonna use the same wall, and then I'm just gonna place it right on top of level 1. And so the height of my parapets, I'm gonna make them 800 millimeters. So I'm gonna place it starting from that point, and then I'm just gonna place it like this towards also this point, and then this point, and it's going to be set like this. If I open up the 3D view, this is basically how it looks. Perfect. Now the next thing is, obviously we're going to have to go back to level 1. We're going to have to place our railings. So for our railings, you're going to go to architecture, under circulation, you're going to select your railings, and then you're going to place them like this. So the length from this side, you can make it to 2240, and then you're gonna say finish edit mode, and then you're gonna say pick new host, and then make sure your host is the top slab. And now you're gonna go back to level 1, and then obviously you're gonna place your, let me just remove this annotation. So obviously you're gonna say railing again, and then you're gonna place it like this. So you're just gonna connect it from this point and also this point. Say finish edit mode, go to the 3D view, make sure you say pick new host, and then make sure your host is the floor that is on top of your home. Now basically this is our concept. We've mostly used concrete, which is sustainable material and versatile material. Obviously, you can take it much further by doing carbon analysis, by using add-ins such as Autodesk Insight, but we are not gonna take it that further. We are going to use we are going to use that on the upcoming tutorials. So let's try to take it slow. So this is just a basic concept design of a sustainable home. Now, the next thing is I'm just going to go back to the level 1. So we are on the top floor. I'm going to place my, starting with our second, going with our second sustainable topic, we're going to go with water preservation. So when it comes to our water preservation, we're going to load in our water tank. So I'm just going to say insert load, and then I'm just going to go to downloads. So for our download, I'm going to load in my water tank and say open. And then I'm going to say component, and then this is my water tank, and then I'm just going to place it right on this corner on top of our roof. And obviously this is our water tank, and this is the access for our water. So I'm just going to select this water tank, press tab to change its orientation. Now the rainwater will come on this side, and obviously we can connect this because this part of the house will be maybe perhaps the bathroom or the laundry room or whatever, and obviously we can connect it towards those two rooms. So the next thing is we're going to go to level 1, and obviously we're going to place our solar panels. So for our solar panels, there's a family I downloaded, so we're just gonna place it right on top on this side. So I'm gonna place it right there, and then on the side I'm just gonna place dimensions from the inner side of our parapets like this, and then I'm going to adjust it. So I want to make sure that the spacing between is 500 mil, so that the owners of the house can walk between the solar panels in order for them to clean and maintain them. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to select it and then say copy, and then from this point I'm going to copy them towards the left by 1000 millimeters and another 1000 millimeters. So there are 3 of them, and then I'm going to select, control select these 3, and then I'm going to copy them to down by let's make it 2500 millimeters, and then another 2500 millimeters. And then I'm going to select one, right click, select all instances visible in view, and then I'm going to copy them. And actually, let's select these ones only. I think that would work. Actually, let's select these, say copy, and then I'm gonna copy from this point and then towards this point. Actually, let's say undo. So I'm gonna copy them like this. Yes, I'm just gonna place them like that, and then I'm gonna place this one like this, and then this one like that. Perfect. So I think there's enough spacing to walk through in order for you to wash them or maintain them, to do some maintenance. So yeah, I think there's enough energy, but obviously you can reduce the number of panels. Less is more. um, so the other thing is we're going to place another small structure on top in order for us to make access for natural lighting when it comes to the living room. So this is basically going to be the living room. If I go to level 1, this part is going to be the living room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to structure and say wall, and then I'm just going to place a rectangle like this. And obviously I'm going to adjust the parameters. So from this point, I'm going to make it 2000 millimeters. And then from this point also, I'm going to make it 2000 millimeters. And then the overall length, I'm going to make it 5000 millimeters. Or let's see with 6. Okay, I think 6 is too much. We can make it, I think 5000 is fine. So if I go back to the 3D view, I'm going to select all these walls, and then obviously the height is 800. So I'm going to select only this one and make it 1000 millimeters, because the slope of the roof of this small structure is going to be inclined. So I'm going to go back to level 1 and go to architecture and say roof by footprint. Place a rectangle like this, and then as you can see, this annotation denote the slope of your roofs. So I'm going to select these three and then go to the left. Under constraints, I'm going to uncheck this define slope, define roof slope, uncheck it. Now the roof is going to be sloping towards from the left to the right. So I'm going to select this, set um, the slope to 5 degrees, and then say finish edit mode, and then attach it, and then go to the 3D view. And obviously I'm gonna have to change the thickness, so I'm just gonna make it the roof generic 125 millimeters. Go to the south elevation. Let me set this to wireframe, and then when I move the roof manually upwards, it's gonna move along with the walls. So I'm going to move it towards this point, and then I'm going to move it again by, let's say, 200 millimeters. So I think that's fine. So obviously the roof is offset from the parapet, so the parapets won't be obstructing the natural light when it comes to heating this small structure, and also along with the solar panels we will place on top. So if I go back to, which brings me to another thing we should place is the solar panels that we did on the previous tutorials. I have loaded them in. So I'm just going to scroll down, and so these are the solar panels that we did on the previous tutorials. So I'm just going to place like, uh, actually, let me say undo. Let me just place one randomly here so that we can change its constraints. So I'm going to select it, go to edit family, and then on the family template, you're going to go to the left. Under other, we're going to check this work plane based, check it and say load into project and close. And then I'm not going to save this. You guys can save it if you want. So I'm going to override the existing version and its parameters. Now you can place it on whatever face you choose to place it on. So I'm going to say architecture again. Under component, I'm going to make sure your placement is set to what plane. Actually, it's set to face. Now you're going to use this roof as your face, and then I'm going to place it like that. Go to level 1, and as you can see, this is what we have. Now I'm just going to copy it down and then select these two, and then I'm going to copy two more like this. Go to the 3D view, and then I'm going to select these four panels, and then edit work plane, pick a plane, and then I'm going to pick this plane, and then it's going to be set right on top of this roof. The one thing is we have to make access for natural lighting, so we're going to place windows on the front face of this small structure. So you're going to go back to level 1 and say section, and then you're going to place your section like this. Now you're going to open up this new section, and then you're going to scroll closer to this building. Let me just set this to fine. As you can see, this is what we have. Now you're going to go to window, and the window size we're going to go with is the 1810 by 910, and then you're going to place it. Actually, it's a bit too large, so let's go with this one instead. That one also is a bit too large. Let's go with this one. So this one also is too large. And 910. So what we can do is, if I go to the south elevation, select this roof. I'm just going to increase it and by another 200 millimeters, and then go back to my section, select my window, and then the second last window, and then I'm going to place it like this, and also another one like this. Make sure that both of them are aligned. So I'm going to use this panel as my reference. When you scroll over in this, hover over this section, you can use your panel as a reference to center this window and also this side, and make sure that the both of them are aligned with each other. So if you go to the 3D view, this is basically what we have. Now the natural lighting will hit this windows, which will be provided towards the living room. Now that's perfect. Now if I change this to realistic, as you can see, it will be more refined. This is what we have. This is our monocrystalline solar panels that we did on the previous tutorials. But obviously, we're going to have to make access when it comes to the floor. So you're going to go to, let's just go to the 3D view, select this floor and say edit boundary. Go to level 1, and then set this to wireframe, and then you're going to select your rectangle, and then you're going to place it within the bounds of this small structure in order for you to make access right on the inside, and say finish edit mode and say attach. I think it's fine. Go to the 3D view, and as you can see the inside of your building. Now natural light will go inside the building. Now this is basically our concept design of our sustainable building. We have a sustainable material such as concrete, we have our solar panels, we have our water tank for water preservation, and also, yeah, we have our natural lighting going inside our homes. Now the next thing is, I think we can add a boundary towards our home. We can add more, we can add a green roof right on the right on the side. So you're gonna go back to level 0, go to structure and say wall again, and then just gonna place a rectangle like this, randomly like this. So we're gonna remove this part, and let's see, we can offset this by 2000 millimeters. I think it's fine. We can offset this one by, let's make it 5000 millimeters. Okay, let's make it 4000 instead. I think that's fine. And then this one, we can offset this by 2000 millimeters. So if I go back to the 3D view, this is basically our yard. I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to change its height to, let's change it to 2000 millimeters. So this is basically our boundary for our home. and I'm gonna go back to level 0, and then I'm gonna go with my wall again, and then I'm gonna join the wall of my house and with the wall from our boundary. So I'm just gonna place it like that, trim and extend, and then trim and extend the side, select these two walls, change the height to 2000 millimeters, open up the 3D view, and this is basically what we have. Another thing I forgot to do is place a wooden floor right on this part. So I'm gonna go back to level 0 again and say structure, floor, and then I'm gonna say edit type, duplicate, and then I'm gonna change this one to a 50 millimeter thick um, wooden floor, and say okay, edit, and then I'm going to change the thickness to 50 millimeters, and then obviously I'm going to have to change the material to wood or pine. So the one I'm going to go with is the wood flooring, and say okay, and then okay again, and say okay, and then I'm going to draw my rectangle from this point towards this point, and then I'm going to say okay. Go to the 3D view. Obviously, they will be clashing, so I'm going to set the offset to 50 millimeters, and also our stairs, obviously, I'm going to set them the base offset to 50 millimeters. So I think that's perfect. So this is basically how it looks now. Now the next thing is I'm going to go back to level 0 again, and then I'm going to place another concrete floor, 200 millimeter concrete floor on this side, and then I'm just gonna place it like that. So I'm gonna align it towards this point and say finish edit mode, and then let me just remove these annotations. So the next thing is I'm gonna place another wooden floor on this side. So I'm gonna go with my 50 millimeter wooden floor, and then I'm gonna place it right on this point towards this point. Say finish edit mode, and then I'm gonna offset it by 50 millimeters. Remove this annotation, and then go back to the 3D view, and this is basically how it looks. So I'm gonna remove the front face of this boundary, and the next thing is I'm gonna place a storefront or a curtain wall right on this side. So I'm gonna go to architecture wall. I'm gonna scroll down to curtain wall, edit type, duplicate, okay. And then I'm gonna set my vertical grids to fixed distance. I think at 1.5 is fine. And then vertical mullion, I'm gonna set it to 50 by 150 and say okay. And now I'm gonna offset it by 1000 millimeters, then place it right on this point like this. Go to the 3D view, and obviously I'm gonna have to adjust the parameters, and I'm gonna set the level to 3000 millimeters instead, and then I'm gonna set the base offset to 350 millimeters, and let's see what we have. Actually, I'm gonna have to adjust it. Let's see what happens if I aligned. So I think that's perfect. So the offset is 50 millimeters instead. And now as you can see, we are missing a mullion on this side and also this side. So let me just check. Let me set the spacing to 1000 millimeters instead. And let me just say undo. Let me set it to 1.2. And then I'm going to say okay. So yeah, I think it's evenly spaced out, but I'm gonna, under my build, I'm gonna go to mullion and then place another mullion on this point and also on this point and also this point and also on this point. Now, as you can see, we can apply our roofing. So for our roof, we're gonna go to level 1 again, and then under structure you're going to go to floor again, and then you're going to place your wooden floor, but this time you're going to change its thickness. So you're going to say edit type and then duplicate, and then name it roof floor, and then you're gonna remove this number and say okay, edit, and then you're gonna change its thickness to perhaps 150 millimeters and say okay, and then say okay. and then go to the 3D view. Obviously, it's going to be set much higher. Um, so I think it's fine. Actually, the curtain wall somehow managed to detect it. So I think that is very much okay. But we are not done yet. So you're gonna go back to level one and then flow again. So you're gonna say edit type and then duplicate, and then you're gonna rename this one grass and say okay, edit type, and then your grass you can make it 5 millimeters, and then you obviously going to change the material, and then you're going to type in grass, load in your grass and say okay, and then okay, and then okay again, and then you're going to select your rectangle, and then you're going to place it right on top like this. So you're going to offset it by 150 millimeters and say finish edit mode. Go to the 3D view, so it's offset much higher, so that's not a problem. You can just align it towards on top of your wooden floor. Now we've covered the last topic when it comes to our sustainable home, which is the green roof. So we have our grass, you can do your gardening or anything on top right there. And actually I think we can also so we're gonna add much furniture just to make it a little more nice. So I've loaded in the furniture. I'll leave the link in the description also. So we're gonna go with these seats or sofas. So I'm just gonna place them like this where people can just hang out and socialize and do whatever they have to do. So this is basically how it looks. Now I'm just gonna go with I'm gonna increase the parameter of this ground floor. Actually this one I think it's fine, so I'm just gonna select this one and then just gonna place it like that. And I'm gonna remove this and say finish edit mode, go to the 3D view, and this is how it looks. So I think that's perfect. And also I think we can increase the parameter of this. So I'm just gonna say align it towards this point and say finish edit mode and go to the 3D view. This is basically how it looks. So yeah, you can actually find this file on my Patreon. Make sure you subscribe to my Patreon. And I'm just gonna select the outer boundaries of this wall and set the base offset to minus 300 millimeters. And it's gonna be set like this. I think that's okay. And yeah, I think that's fine. So this is basically our sustainable home. We've covered like four topics when it comes to sustainability, solar energy, water preservation, green roofs, sustainable materials, and so on. So thank you guys for watching. I actually enjoyed this topic and tutorial. It was interesting, but we kept it as basic as we could. Like I said, it's just a basic conceptual design of a sustainable home. And if you want to make it more interesting, obviously you can copy these homes multiple times just to make it more interesting and add side context, and then you can use it for your school projects or anything. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next tutorial. Peace.